All right, my friends, welcome to episode 422 of Prof and Dev Play Games. My name is Larry. I am a professor and I play video games lately, quite a bit actually. Over there is Anthony the Dev. He makes games, and when his kids let him, he plays games.
It's true.
Oh, man. How are you?
I'm doing okay. At the beginning of the week, I saw my first NHL game.
Oh, that's right. You saw the
Like,
Kraken.
actually went to. I mean, I've seen an NHL game before on TV and stuff, but this is the first time I've gone to an NHL game. Yep. My mom invited me Sunday. She's like, "Hey, I have an extra ticket to Monday's game." I was like, "You can come over. It's free. Get to go." And it was real cool. It was real dumb, as I would expect. Like, there's like dumb in the way of being like, wow, this is like very silly in the presentation and over the top. Far more than I was expecting. Yeah, but it was a fun time. Just like, would you go back? I'm like, if you offered me another game to go to at some point, I probably would take you up on it. Am I going to go every game? No, but it was pretty amazing. I texted you during it because yeah, every time the Kraken score, you get they play Nirvana. And then when they won, they played Foo Fighters.
Very cool.
I was like, okay.
What Foo Fighters song did they play?
I can't even remember at this point.
The best, the best, the
No,
best. No,
no, it wasn't that. Yeah, I can't remember at the moment. It was Foos,
okay.
though,
That's
buried
cool.
under all the cheering.
Yeah, sure.
And then the super weird thing they have. It's so Seattle. At the end of the game, they do the stars, 3 stars of the game,
Mm-hmm.
and they come out on the ice and they kind of like do a lap on the ice and get cheered at, and then they throw a stuffed salmon into the crowd.
Okay, all right.
And that's the only way to get this stuffed salmon. They don't
you
sell any merch for it or anything.
Yeah.
It's they into the game, 3 stuffed salmon get thrown into the crowd.
Okay, well, at least they're not like real salmon.
No,
Smacked right
it's
in the face.
it's so silly. It's really funny though.
That's very cool.
But yeah, that was a fun way to start the week.
Yeah, that's something different. That's something very cool. We might be going to, actually, we are going to CONCACAF finals. The U.S. is through to the semifinals against Canada. They play Wednesday against Canada down here, and then the final Saturday. So we'll be going to at least one of those games.
That's cool.
So looking forward to it. But you all are here for a video game podcast. If you like our podcast, please rate us on your podcast service of choice. I'll throw that at the front now. And if you missed the code for Weedcraft, go back and listen to episode 420, but hopefully someone has claimed that by now. So, excuse me. This week, we're talking about Final Fantasy Remake Rebirth. I've been obsessed with Remake, and Anthony has been playing Rebirth. So, I don't know where you want to start.
Let's start with you, since most of the stuff I'm going to talk about will be stuff that may or may not make sense to you at all.
It probably won't, which is totally fine. That's why I don't care about spoilers. I'm in Chapter 9, The City That Never Sleeps, Don Corneo's.
Yeah.
I just finished the Colosseum, beat Hell House, and now I'm out doing a couple of side quests. I did the squat competition, and now I'm going on to Johnny. There's like a Johnny thing, I think.
Yeah.
While Aerith is getting her dress ready. I'm very excited and interested to see how they do dress, the 3 dresses. And Tifa's got a dress, Aerith has a dress, and then Cloud has a dress. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that is.
Oh, you haven't got to that part yet.
No, I'm just
so excited for you to get to play that part.
I've been waiting for this part kind of the whole game because it's the piece from the original game that stands out the most to me because I played, I played all the way to the open world outside of Midgard. In fact, I loaded up my save file and I'm in Juno? Is that what it's called?
Junon.
There we go. That's where I'm at. And I played that for about half an hour last night. And I was like, nope, I'm not going to be able to go back and experience this game how it is. I'm just going to live through Remake watch a playthrough. Because to me, it was hard to navigate. But anyway, so I'm just at the part where the dress thing's going to happen. I'm just in love with this game, man. I was so interested in Barrett and Tifa and then they're gone, and I'm with Aerith for all of chapter 8, basically all of chapter 9, and she's well written, just as cool, man. The characters in this game, this is standing out to me. Like, it's really something else. Like, it's gonna be one of my top 10 games ever. And I don't.
It's interesting. The characters are great and everything. This is from me playing Rebirth as well. It's just reminding me the one thing about this game that I love, and I kind of can't believe it's so popular because of this, is that it's so strange.
It is
bizarre. And the characters are incredibly eccentric.
Yep.
Like, across the board, they're all super exaggerated overall. And it can be so super serious in its main plot, and it's so silly in everything else. Like,
it really
is so silly.
I think that juxtaposition is so unique, where it is this real, like the world's ending, like we're drilling from Mako and it's killing the planet, and Barrett is like super super fucking serious so far, at least.
Yeah.
And then like Aerith is just like she's not flighty, but she's so I don't know what the word is. She's so floaty.
Yeah.
And just like so not, and she just like takes everything in stride, and she's not worried about anything, even though they're Jesus Christ. We're fighting a fucking house that's like changing different elements, and I just love in our Discord. Travis had talked about kind of missing or not starting Remake because he would miss the turn base. But I hit X and do turn base so often that it just feels really tactical, figuring out like what to do when. What especially the Hell House fight, like what element to counteract with, and I only have 3 of the 4. I don't have wind for some fucking reason, so I'm just trying my best with the 3 that I do have, and taking down the barrier. It felt so tactical, and up until then, like the 3 fights were like like some goons, these robots, kind of stuff that's like normal, and then.
Fucking
it's a
house.
Fucking house. I'm fighting a fucking. I was like, this has got to be like a person or something. It kind of turns into a bit of a robot at the end, but I'm just like, I'm fighting a fucking house. This game is absurd.
And that's from the original. Like, not Hell House is an enemy from the first game, but there is no like Coliseum fight that you're doing. That's all Remake added stuff, and they're just like, let's pull this weird thing over that. I don't even know if Hell House in the first game was a required fight.
That's what I was wondering, because I don't have any memory of fighting Hell House.
I think it's is it a rare mod? I'm looking. Hell House. Hell House is an enemy. Yeah, it's not I don't think it's a boss in the original 7. It's just, it can occur in a random battles.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't think I've ever faced that before in the original.
Locations, Hell House. Yeah, yeah, of course. It's neat that they put it in here, because I think it's such a memorable thing from the first game. People are like, what in the world? You fight in a house. Okay.
Yeah. Fucking hell, dude. That's just the absurdity of the game, but it's played straight. Cloud's not like, what the fuck? I'm fighting a house? Like, I think it would kind of ruin it. It's just like, all right, let's do it. Like, what the fuck? And the squat challenge is like just dumb too, and so funny.
Yeah, that was in the original game. All those little mini games like that were there.
That I remember from the mini.
It's interesting how they kept some of that stuff and expanded on it, but like you said, kept the silliness. Yeah. Like, a lot of games, when they're going to be remade, would probably cut this stuff, I'll be honest. They would be like, a modern audience isn't going to be cool with this. And this game's like, no, if you're here for this game, you're here for the weird, and we're going to give it to you. Strap in. Man, actually, whenever you're talking about the dresses, so what did you originally for Tifa?
Sporty.
Which one's sporty?
She looks, it looks like Chun-Li a little bit. I saw her in the carriage.
She's like in the effectively a yukata or kimono type dress.
Sure. It's like shiny, kind of, I don't know, like black.
Oh no, I see what you're talking about. No, that's okay, interesting. I see it now.
Yeah. I chose
sporty. Okay.
Yeah. Because I was like, to be perfectly honest, this is one of the few times where I was playing this game in front of my wife. My wife was watching, and she was like, what the fuck? It was like mature, exotic, or sporty. I'm like,
Hey.
I guess I'm choosing sporty. I don't know what the fuck's about to happen. I'm choosing sporty.
Nothing then. You just have to wait
That's a long
20
time.
hours later before this thing that has a ramification of any way.
Well, it's crazy because there's a trophy to see all 9 dresses or all 3 dresses or whatever. I guess all 3 of Tifa's or all 9 of everybody's. And that requires, another playthrough. But I guess you have to play the game on hard to get the platinum anyway. So
sure. These are not games I plan on platinuming.
No.
They are a lot of hours. Both of them require a lot of hours and a lot of skill to platinum. They are not easy platinums.
150 to 200 hours for that.
Yeah, because you have to replay again.
Yeah.
You have to replay it on hard, which you can't do hard at the beginning. You have to do it a second time through.
I hate those kind of trophies.
And then you also have to do absolutely everything.
Yep.
And like master every materia, and there's like a whole slew of things where I'm like, wow, this is a grind. They're not playing it easy for this platinum. They're like, no. You gotta play a lot.
Yep.
I'm trying to think here. So, okay, you did the tournament. The trio. Have you been to the Honeybee Inn yet?
I have, yeah. But I need to go back because apparently that's where the next big thing is, I think. That's where when I get Aerith again, we go back there.
That's what I'm waiting. I cannot wait for you to do Honeybee Inn.
Yeah, because that's the place. I think I'm trying to remember the original. There's a bunch. There's mini games in there or something, or there's I mean, obviously Cloud's in a dress. That's happening.
The Honeybee Inn is very expanded upon from the original game, and what I want you to go in there and see is what the expanded upon portion.
Okay.
And when we saw Distant Worlds in LA, they did a sequence from it.
And it might not have stuck with me because I didn't.
Yeah, I think it's going to start and you're going to be like, oh, this.
Mm-hmm. Well, even just going there, like the women dressed up like bees, I'm like, whoa. All right.
Yeah. Trying to see. Okay, did that.
Yeah, like this, playing this game, and I'm so glad this year I'm focused on my backlog because this is a backlog game. And I'm just so in love with it. I bought the fucking Cloud amiibo, the Sephiroth amiibo. I'm like almost pulled a trigger 12 times on a fucking Tifa statue. I'm like, what have I become? Who am I? This is not.
I don't know.
I don't get it, and I'm so happy. So I think, I'm 18 hours into this game, and I'm trying. I'm not even trying to do everything. I'm just enjoying doing everything. I've done all the side quests so far. I'm not grinding for like all the materia or whatever, obviously,
sure,
or all the discs or anything like that, music and stuff. But I imagine I'll finish this in a couple of weeks, and then I think I might watch someone do the last 2/3 of Final Fantasy VII, the original, that I didn't do, just so I can see the whole story before I go into Intergrade. I think I'll take a break before I do Intergrade.
Yeah, which isn't long. I think
8 hours.
Like I watched it, but even playing it, I think it's like 5 to 8 hours or something. Yeah. It's pretty short.
Yeah. Is Yuffie in the original game?
Yeah. Optional character though. You don't like how. Not spoiling in Rebirth. I have met Yuffie in Rebirth now.
Mm-hmm.
She's not in my party, but in the original game, she would show up in a random encounters in a certain region of the map.
Interesting.
And you have to fight her. You had to do something after the random encounter, and you had to like answer her questions in the correct way. And it was like a number of questions, and if you answered them right all the way through, she would join your party.
Well, that's a lot of if-thens.
Yeah, but you don't have... She's completely optional. Her and Vincent were completely optional party members. And they're kind of fan favorites. I wonder if it's because they were optional.
Right, that you're like a true player if you knew who they were.
Yeah. And Vincent's just like super emo vampire boy. So,
oh, damn. Okay.
Who I know shows up in Rebirth eventually, because we'll be dealing with that, where he would show up in the original game, and he's voiced by Matt Mercer. So,
oh, he is?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was Matt Mercer. I think I've said this before. He had a tweet long ago, and someone asked him, like, if you could voice any other character than Sephiroth in Final Fantasy VII, who would it be? And he's like, he basically alluded to Vincent. And he gets to voice Vincent, and I think it's probably like a dream for him.
That's so cool.
I'm very curious if I don't think Vincent's going to be playable at all in this game. I think in Rebirth, I think he'll be in the third game.
That's why I wonder if Dirge of Cerberus is going to be remade like Crisis Core was before.
Possible.
3, yeah.
I mean, they've done very little with Dirge of Cerberus over the years.
I think it's like locked to PS2, isn't it?
Checking. Yeah, it was only on PS2.
Yeah. So it seems like that's something that they would do.
Yeah, like they did with Crisis Core.
Crisis Core. I mean, they brought Advent Children back to theaters like 2 weeks ago. So.
I know.
Did you go see it, by the way?
No. I heard about it. It just didn't work on a day that I could actually go. I do plan on rewatching Advent Children here at some point. I own it. I have a DVD of it, but I think there's something called like Advent Children Complete, which I've never seen, which had some new scenes added back in that came out years ago.
Cool.
I think, as I told you, I'm like, I wouldn't do Advent Children.
No, you're
if you don't know the full story, because it doesn't stand on its own very well.
That's right. Yeah,
it's like you need to know who all the characters are. You need to know what's happened.
Yep, exactly. Like you said, because it's a true sequel. Like I completely forgot about that.
It is a absolute fundamental true sequel, and we'll see if the remake trilogy is a sequel to it. Maybe.
Yeah, right, exactly.
There's so much that makes me, from playing Rebirth, that makes me more and more believe that this is some form of alternate timeline sequel going on. Like, even more than, like, these whisper things being around, like the plot ghosts.
Right.
But Rebirth digs into it. There's more, I should say, doesn't dig into it. There's more lines and hints that something else very meta is up. But that's cool. I'm glad you're enjoying the game overall.
Oh my God.
So eccentric. The characters have stood the test of time, I'll be honest. Go to any con, any nerdy con, doesn't matter if it's anime or comics or anything, you'll see these people cosplay these characters all the time. Still, what?
I understand. Like, I can understand based on just spending like 18 hours in this world. I'm like, I never want to leave. I want to play all of Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
I've missed out on a lot apparently by the only Final Fantasy I've ever completed being 15. Oh God, there were much better things.
Yeah, it's interesting when I'm talking about like how eccentric and weird the games are. It's definitely like 7. I didn't remember truly how weird it was, but I'm like, oh yeah, this game was still very strange. It had a lot of really weird stuff in it. Why? Just 'cause. Like, 8 is still weird, but tries to be more serious. 9 is very much the throwback to, like, the real early Final Fantasies. Yeah. And so it has some weird stuff in it, but again, starts playing itself a little bit, I wouldn't say straighter, but more like, I wouldn't even say restrained. It's not nearly as weird as 7. Right. It's silly, but not as weird. And then, like, 10 on, they just slowly get more serious and cut out a lot of the weird.
I mean, like, culminating in 16,
which is very serious.
Fuck. Yeah.
I'm
going to go back and finish it this year, but I just, compared to this, like, there's so much of that, the soul of 7 is that silliness, is that weirdness, and it's nowhere in 16, which is fine. It's a different story, but, like... And
it's not really in 15, either. Like, there's a little bit here and there when they do, like, the product placement stuff.
Yeah, but, yeah.
But in general, that it's a very subdued mood for most of that game. Unless you consider the weirdness of it being they're all on a road trip in a car. But right. There's, like, just really this focus on... not as strange. 13 wasn't nearly as it's strange, but it's not silly. Yeah, it's weird how they've moved away from that. I don't know if I get where 16 they're like, we trying to make a more serious and mature story, and like what they're referencing be that like pretty serious media that's kind of taken hold. But
Yep.
I wouldn't mind seeing a return to just being pretty silly overall. Although it's so weird. Like I said, I don't know how general audiences would take that all the time. Like, they fine with it here, clearly.
Yeah.
But I still feel like this is kind of an anomaly.
Well, it just seems like it's such a long and well-loved game that it's allowed to stick around almost. Like 6, for example, it felt very dark.
Yeah.
I don't remember I've only played probably 15 hours of it, but
You have Ghost Train in 6.
yeah,
You get the suplex a Ghost Train. That's fun.
true. That's true. That was a great fight, by the way. Man, yeah, I think I'm at the Opera House now, so however many hours that is. Man, I don't know, man. I'm in, and I just joined the Patreon for Axe of the Blood God, which I think I've talked about before, the RPG podcast.
Yeah.
And the $10 tier is where you get into like the Pantheon, and they're discussing like I just listened to a 2.5 hour podcast just about Final Fantasy IX.
Wow.
It was amazing. It was so good. So I just feel very like in Final Fantasy right now.
And for me, yep, I am totally in.
How many hours are you into Rebirth?
13, 14, somewhere in there.
It's pretty good.
Like we were saying before the podcast, it would probably be more, but I have to compete for the PS5 with my kids because they share my passion of wanting to play games.
Yes, wonderful.
And they've decided, well, my son has decided that he wants to play Rebirth as well. Like, he was just as excited for me whenever it arrived. And then my daughter has now decided that she wants to go back and continue playing Hogwarts Legacy and likely beat it. So for their general game time during the day, when they are trying to share the same console, that is 4 hours that I don't get to use that console.
Right.
So I didn't until they finished this afternoon. Mid-afternoon, then I got more time in before dinner, before I had to go make dinner. So I'm in chapter 4 of Rebirth. I'm at the point where if I say yes to continue, I would go into chapter 5, but I just finished all the what they call world intel for the Junon region. Actually, that's where I'm at right now. And so world intel is a thing in Rebirth, which is much more semi-open world, like big open zones. And then there's a bunch of... Have you met Chadley? Yeah, you've met Chadley.
Oh, yeah.
So Chadley's in Rebirth. And you're collecting world intel for them. And there's like a certain chunk of pips for all the world intel of a zone. And of course, I do all of it. So the Grasslands was the first open area. I did all the world intel before moving on. I'm doing all the world intel in Junon region before progressing into the next chapter. Which I believe I'll do. The next chapter will actually be like Junon City. And that whole area. And then chapter 6, I'm pretty sure, is Costa del Sol. Everyone in swimsuits. That's going to be fun.
Okay. Hold on a second. Let me buy this.
Yeah.
Let me look up some statues real fast.
Yeah. That was a funny thing. There was like a swimsuit reveal trailer that Square put out.
I was fucking kidding. Is this real? Okay, here I go to the Google.
I want to say it was viewed an insane number of times.
I imagine.
I don't remember what it was. I just saw people talking, and I don't know if it's specifically was a Square Enix thing or like part of a trailer. I'm just trying to see. But I do know that there was something that came out, and boy, did it light up gaming.
That's so funny.
Gaming Reddits.
Of course.
So, I'll be getting to that eventually. But overall, game, it did not start how I expected it to start at all. You said you don't care about spoilers. I guess anyone here cares about spoilers?
Yeah, we're gonna start
now.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna go into spoilers for Rebirth, and if you are sensitive to that,
Yeah.
Happy to have you here. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. So at the end of Remake, the very, very end, they play a cutscene that is effectively almost one-to-one from the end cutscene of Crisis Core, where Zack dies in Crisis Core. He defends. He's gunned down by Shinra.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of Remake, he doesn't get gunned down. He kills them all. And he picks up Cloud, and they head towards Midgar. Zack being alive at this point.
Right.
Where he's in the original game and Crisis Core, he's not. He's dead. 100% dead. Confirmed. See death on screen. Dead. This game picks up with the end of Remake happening. Big tornadoes, big parts of the city destroyed. And it opens with Zack carrying Cloud into Midgar, and then stopping and seeing the news report of the big climactic fight you had in Remake, where Cloud was a part of it. And then seeing all the main characters either injured or dead.
Oh, shit.
And Zack seeing it, and Cloud, he's holding a Cloud? I don't know. Is there 2 Clouds now? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But he sees Aerith being taken away in a helicopter, and he drops Cloud off with someone, like a reporter, one of the Undercity reporters, and then he runs after trying to get Aerith. Red 13 is also in that helicopter and wakes up and fights back, and the helicopter crashes. Zack then rescues Aerith. Here's the big spoiler. Escapes, kind of hides. Aerith's unconscious, and then she dies in the first 5 minutes of the game. And then we cut to Cloud recounting, which is the demo that came out of Rebirth, Nibelheim, his past. Right. And then you're in the City of Calm, you're in the grasslands and everything, and all the party members are alive and well. But haven't touched back on this whole opening with Zack. You play as Zack, too. Like, he has his own combat style and everything for the first
Well, he's in your party, I thought, isn't he?
No.
Oh, no? Okay.
Not right then. I'm like, is he going to come back? Because they haven't touched on it yet in the chapters I'm at.
Interesting. I don't know anything. I just assumed because they redid Crisis Core that he was also going to be playable.
I don't know. He's supposedly he is playable. He has his own. He has his own combat style. And in some way he's not dead. But this is where I'm like, okay, there's different timelines going on, and then the timeline he's in, most of the Avalanche members are dead. Aerith died. And I don't know. I don't know what this game is doing. I don't know what this means. And I wouldn't be surprised if we don't really learn what it fully means in this game, in Rebirth, and it's part of the third game. I'm sure we're going to come back to Zack at some point here, but in Rebirth. But that was not how I expected the game to open, where I played as Zack for like 5 minutes. And Aerith died at the beginning. I'm like, you jerks. Just getting that one out of the way real early. And of course you're playing with, she's not dead in the other timeline that you're playing with her. But it was a wild opening. I was pretty confused. I'm okay with it, but I'm like, what is this story? What is this game going to be overall? And I don't know. I have no clue. But that's the opening, and then you transition to the Nibelheim, like the history of Cloud and how he knows Sephiroth and the story of Sephiroth, basically going into madness and turning evil. But then you get into the things of certain party distrust, especially Tifa and Cloud. They're expanding this thing that, like, Cloud's like talking like he was there in Nibelheim and like was part of the whole thing, and Tifa's like, I was there 5 years ago. You weren't there. What are you talking about? And Cloud's like, I saw you die there. So wow. There's weird stuff going on. And I know some of the plot twists of the original game from playing it, but it's interesting to see how they're doing it in this game.
Yeah, like the thing I love about it, for other people, not for me, is you love a thing and then you're playing the thing again and you're like, there's some new stuff that's just like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like that's kind of a cool way to experience something you love.
Yeah. And I do have to believe like the people involved in remaking this game wouldn't want to do if it was just like, we are just flat out just remaking it 1-to-1. Like they would just be like, no, not gonna do it.
Right.
I think what interests them is the fact that they get to add new things and new wrinkles to the overall lore. And like I said, from that, I'm like, this is somewhat... It's a redo and a sequel at the same time, I think.
Right.
There's enough hints in Remake and now more lines in Rebirth at times where it's like, pretty sure Aerith and Sephiroth aren't the original Aerith and Sephiroth.
Did you say aren't?
They are not the originals from the first game. Like,
okay.
Sometimes they just speak, and you're like, speak and say things in certain ways, and you're like, you shouldn't know that. There's no way.
Right.
And so I do think they are not the character. They are those characters. They're just not the characters from the story 25 plus years ago.
That's pretty wild.
Again, doesn't mean understand how the Zack thing fits into all of this. But Zack is dead. Clearly not, but kind of. But yeah, it's a lot of fun overall. Like gameplay wise, it's just a more refined remake. Like combat is way more refined. There's the open world aspect, just more freedom to run around. You can ride chocobos, which is great. But it's following the same story beats for the most part.
Have you got to the open world-ish part yet, where it's like a lot of freedom? Is it still linear? Oh, okay.
I mean, Grasslands, that's the first one. Like, after you finish Nibelheim, you do a little bit in Calm, and then you get spat out into the first kind of open area, and then Junon is the second open area. The Junon region. Yeah, they call them regions. I think there's like 4 or 5 total of them, and they're pretty big. And there's a bunch, that's where the world intel is, and like where you can do side activities to get through different things, and you get plenty of rewards out of doing the side activities. Lots of materia. It's all through Chadley, so Chadley gives you a bunch of materia. You unlock new combat scenarios. Mechanically, it's very robust, very deep. Story-wise, it is continuing on, chasing Sephiroth. I'm trying to think of anything else really going on there. Like I said, met Yuffie. I really didn't like the mini game in the Junon region, which was Fort Condor, like little mini RTS game.
Oh,
man, I did not like that thing at all.
Really?
I beat it.
Okay.
I got through the 4 segments needed to, and I'm like, I never want to do this again. I hate it.
Luckily, you don't have to, probably, right?
You don't. I don't think I have to do anything more. But they have a card game, Queen's Blood, which I've played every Queen's Blood player I can.
Because it's that good?
It's good. I don't think it's better to me than Triple Triad, which is the 8.
Interesting. Okay.
I think there's something very simple and simplicity of design and elegance of design of Triple Triad. This game is good. I actually like it better. I'm going to say better than Witcher 3's card game.
But better than Gwent?
I think I like it more than Gwent. Games are faster than Gwent too. Like that's the one thing it keeps is like really fast games. But it feels pretty strategic in how you're playing and what you need to do. But like Final Fantasy IX had a card game and I hated that card game. And so this is quite a step up from previous card games. It feels good. I haven't felt bad playing it. I enjoy playing it. So I take every opportunity on the map that's like, oh, play this person as a Queen's Blood player, play them, get your win, and get your card. I do that. I buy the booster packs from the store. You can't buy lots of booster packs. It's like you buy it once and you get like 5 cards, and that's it. And you move on. they're not putting Magic the Gathering, a TCG, in this game completely.
I wonder if they'll spin it off, and because so many people love it.
Yeah, I think if it's successful, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to do something. They did that with, well, Triple Triad. They did a separate app long ago, and then they closed it. And they did in Final Fantasy XIV. You can play Triple Triad as like a major thing, and like bosses drop cards. Like, that is just part of that. So we'll see. I'm sure they'll figure something out here if people want more of it. But overall, I'm enjoying it. I like being back with the characters. Production wise, very, very high quality. Still a bit janky, which is fine for such a high quality, like visually super high quality. But sometimes, like the character movement, especially going up and down cliffs and stuff, is real silly looking. I think they just were like, you know what? That's fine. The original game has some jank to it. This one's gonna have some jank to it as well. But it hasn't crashed on me. I haven't had any like big massive bugs or anything, like nothing I can tell. So really have for it. I want to continue to play it actually.
Well, that's
we're
good.
done recording here. I will play more of it.
Yes, I'm looking forward to playing tonight. I want to play more Final Fantasy. I just only want to play Final Fantasy 7, so I understand. I hope to get to that game by the end of the year, before this year is up. But that, I hope it's. I'm hoping that when you get through it, you're not like there's too much of the open world stuff and it kind of dragged it down. I'm hoping you like it all the way through.
I don't think so. Like 2 open world areas I've done every possible side activity in. I'm not like, oh, I don't want to do this again. I enjoy it. Like I enjoy the fighting, the combat, and what I'm doing there. So
yeah.
All the side activities are pretty quick. Is the thing about it.
That's good.
So it's not like I'm like, oh, doing these huge things. I think the longest side activities are the side quests, which are usually multi-part. But that's where you get the silly characters, real silly characters, and I'm like, I'm here for this. I'm here for this like crazy silly side characters. So I don't think those, to me, haven't outstayed their welcome and help kind of like really elevate kind of the world and the side characters that you'll be encountering throughout the game. Like I've encountered one of them in both open world areas so far, and they're just kind of fun to be around. I really like the cutscenes that they have, like the characters have them and their interactions. So I'm fine with it. I know that I saw, I think that's the not divisive thing, but anyone that's like pulls it down is they're like, I don't like doing this stuff.
Right. That's
what. But you don't have to.
Yeah.
Is the thing. Like if you don't want to do the side stuff, just don't do it. Like the game doesn't gate you by doing the side content.
Right.
You might be lower level going into certain things, and you won't have all the materia. But I don't think the game is tuned in a way that you have to do this, like all the world intel or anything.
Right.
Right. If you want the trophies, you want to do it all. But you know, that's how it works. But to me, I don't know. Like I feel like this is a pretty amazing RPG overall. And then, like you mentioned, the update, like the combat change. I'm like, yeah, I'm here for this action combat with the charges. Me being pedantic in my head, I'm like, Final Fantasy VII wasn't turn-based to begin with. It's active time battle. It's the original ATB, which was in from 4 to 9 all used ATB, which, I mean, your action's just on cooldown, but everyone's on a different cooldown, and like things don't stop when you're selecting things. Like it is it's not turn. That's the thing with them. Like your characters aren't like flowing in turns. They're just like, no, how fast can you manage all these bars filling? Basically, and enemy bars filling. If you want true turn-based, Final Fantasy X is fully turn-based. Like you can just sit there on your turn and take as much time as you want to figure out what you do. And 1 to 3 are turn-based as well. But no, that's where I'm like, this is fine. This this does a good job of mirroring the action and that kind of like picking when to do abilities. And if you really want closer to that truer 7 ATB combat, you can do classic mode, where I don't think you attack in that. Like your character auto attacks and blocks, and you're just waiting for ATB charges to fill and use them.
And then the limit break, is 7 the first one that had the limit?
I think 7 is the first limit breaks, or at least called it limit breaks.
Right.
I believe so. And you have in Rebirth, you have synergy skills. So as you use abilities on your characters, they get synergy charges, and then you can learn synergy skills, so characters can do attacks together and very cool things. So
yeah,
even more depth there. Looking, first appearance of a limit break is actually no, they were called desperation attacks in 6.
Really? Okay, I guess I remember that.
They weren't, and they activate randomly. Limit 7 was the one that put them as like you can choose to act. You can build it up and then use it when you want to use it. But 6 is where they had the first concept of like ultimate attack kind of thing. And then it's just been a mainstay since then. But yeah, no, I think that would be my thing for anyone that was like, I want the turn-based. You can play this one effectively in a way that you're not managing the action combat as much, and you're really just monitoring your bars and using your abilities as bars fill.
Yeah.
Because they understood that some people just want that. And I've been tempted to try Remake again using that method just to see what it's like. Because I bet it would be pretty mellow overall, or at least mellower than the action combat.
I wonder if, like, by the time they're done, because I assume 4 or 5 years or whatever till we get to whatever the last one's going to be called, they've expanded on remake system in Rebirth. By the time we get to the last one, they're going to remake the remakes to have like one unified system for a re-release.
I don't know. So here's my thought. We're going to get the final one of the trilogy on the PS5 this generation.
Interesting.
I don't think
you mean like cross-generational kind of thing?
No, I don't. Well, maybe it can I'm sure the PS6 if it is backwards compat. My thought is that, I mean, this took 3 years for them to make Rebirth.
Well, Remake came out in June 2020.
Maybe 2020? 7 Remake. Oh wait, because it was. I don't know. There's lots of different dates here. Why?
That's weird.
PS4 was April 10th, 2020.
April. That's right.
And so the one thing that they did say when they first showed off Rebirth, they said they were already working on the next game. And that they weren't waiting for Rebirth to be done before starting whatever the third one is called.
Oh, that's cool.
And so I think it will be 3 years at max. Like, I think they've been working on it because they're not radically changing the engine on.
Yeah.
They did a bit from Remake to Rebirth because they don't have to be cross-platform. Not cross-platform. Sure. They don't have to be cross-gen on PlayStation. They can just be PS5 and they'll eventually be on PC, but they can focus only on the PS5 and use those features. And the next one can be PS5 as well. And I'm sure they're just building content, and I'm sure some of the content that they made for Rebirth can easily be used in the third game.
That's what I was going to ask you is by the time we get to the third one, and I don't know where the story goes, but do they come back through territory they've already been in? So they can
probably
use a bunch of stuff?
Some. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's definitely some returning to areas. So I feel like it will be faster to get the third game out. They're going to get it out on the PS5. And I think whatever the PS6 is, they're going to do a collected edition that's all 3 of these games together for that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm expecting. And I will buy them again, I'm sure. As one, like, deluxe package set.
Yeah.
But I expect that on with, I wouldn't say a remaster of it, but more being like, hey, we've turned on all these graphical features because it's the PS6 and has more power. It, like the graphics mode runs at 60 or 120 frames per second. Everything maxed out. I will say I've been playing it on performance mode, even though the image quality is a little fuzzier, but I can't handle the 30 frames per second. I need 60.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I tried. I jumped it. I was playing in a performance and like, I'll set this to graphics and see how I feel. And I was like, did it for like 60 seconds. And I was like, absolutely not. I don't care. It still looks fine to me at performance mode, and it's way smoother. And I want the smoothness versus the graphic fidelity.
Right.
And it was announced, I think today, that they are going to. There's a patch coming sooner rather than later to improve
news today.
graphics fidelity for performance.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, we'll see if that hits before I finish the game or not. But yeah, that's my take. Music is still incredible.
Apparently, there's 400 different tracks for that one game alone.
For Rebirth?
Yeah, that's
holy
what I read.
Cow! I mean, there was a lot for Remake. Like, I think the Remake soundtrack was 8 discs.
Wow, Jesus. Okay,
it's a lot of music,
yeah.
And it's a lot of composers that worked on it.
Sure.
I mean, a lot of it is Nobuo Uematsu's stuff rearranged for Remake. I mean, that's the thing. They had a core to build from, and they're just modernizing it in their arrangements. But yeah, it's a lot of music. Actually, one of the guys who did a bunch of the stuff in Remake, Masashi Hamazu, he was in LA when we saw it. They introduced him.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm. He was a major part in doing modern arrangements for a lot of the music in Remake and Rebirth. So, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to me that I get to play this game again, and be surprised again. For what they're doing.
That's the coolest part. It seems like
getting to see these characters just so fully realized this time. It's so great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's all I have to say at the moment. I'm sure I'll have more next week as I get through this and get to some swimsuits, because boy, might I have some stuff to say about that.
I'm looking forward to those thoughts. And buckle up, folks, for a couple of weeks of Final Fantasy 7, just like we had many weeks of Elden Ring. It's rare that you and I are playing the same game not same game. Well, maybe we're both playing Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah. I will say I'll probably starting either next. I don't know when it will get here, but Unicorn Overlord will show up for me sometime. Yeah. Either it depends on how good Amazon is to me. It will either be on Friday the 8th or it's going to be Monday the 11th. But that will be mixed in there, because if I can't play my PS5, I can play my Switch.
Yes, exactly.
And that will be the game I've been playing on my Switch. So
excellent.
Speaking
of Switch,
go ahead.
Speaking of Switch, my daughter and I were playing one morning, and she was like, she wanted to play a game, and I was like, what do you want to play? She's like, I don't know, something with an adventure. So we kind of scrolled through the Switch games, and I was like, we haven't played this game before. Maybe you'd like this. And we loaded up Kirby and the Forgotten Lands, which, when it came out a couple years ago, people really liked. I don't know if you've played that game.
Nope. I just know it's Kirby.
Yeah, dude, this game is fucking rad. It is honestly, it feels like the sequel to Mario Odyssey. Because the hat mechanic with Cappy is the fucking mouthful mechanic with Kirby. He just inhales different things in the environment beyond the little skills you get from the enemies. But the reason it's perfect is because, first of all, it's just a great adventure. She's able to, it's a right difficulty for her, but it is also the right difficulty for my wife. And the way that we do our mornings, when I come down with my daughter, we play games for half an hour or so. And when it's my wife's morning, they watch a show. Well, now my daughter wants to continue to play Kirby. So my wife is now playing the second player, and it's the right difficulty for her. So her and my
Nice.
daughter are having these adventures that I had known nothing about in a video game. That's never happened before, and they're both having a good time. And my daughter, it was clean. Sunday is cleaning day, so I was doing a bunch of cleaning and reorganizing and stuff. So she had a little bit of time to play on her own, and there was a really, I don't know if it was really difficult, but there was a difficult puzzle part where she really had to figure out how to do it by herself, and she managed it. It was super cool. And then she had a boss fight that took her a couple tries, and she was like, "If I can't do it after 2 tries, I want you to do it for me." I was like, "Okay, I want you to try twice." And then after the second time, she's like, "I can do it. I'm gonna try one more time." And then she beat the boss the third time. And it's Kirby, so it's not super difficult, but it was, it's just tuned perfectly for her. And the discovery, all the different hidden things. There's a lot of fun stuff for adults too in this game. I remember hearing people talk about how great this game was, and now I'm just like, oh yeah, okay, now I see it. It is really, it's like Kirby's Mario Odyssey, basically.
That's cool.
It's fucking rad. It's so good. And lots of replayability, and yeah, so it's a good time. That's what we've been playing.
And a weird post-apocalyptic Kirby, because it's all like...
Yeah, dude.
It's such a weird setting. I was like, all bright and shiny and like happy Kirby, but it's all like desolate buildings and like overgrown.
Yeah, that first world is like that overgrown mall. The second one is a amusement park, and then the third one is like an ice world right now.
Okay.
So it's super fun, and she is just like riveted.
Okay.
It's very cool. So yep, that's it.
That's neat.
Yep, and then other than that, I've been playing a bunch of Helldivers.
Yeah.
I'll alternate nights playing Helldivers or playing Final Fantasy, and playing with Kartik and Travis, and played with you. I think we only played once.
Yeah, I'll be honest,
then,
I've just been so focused on other things.
Oh yeah, sure.
Games.
Yeah. And then a bunch of randos who become regulars, so we see them most nights, and it's just been, what a fucking game, man. What a fucking game. It's great. And I can't wait to play it tonight to hear on my new Pulse Elites how that sounds.
Nice.
So it's good times. Good times. All right, my friends. Well, thank you. This was episode 422 of Prof and Dev Play Games. Again, rate us on your podcast service of choice, and we will be back next week to talk about Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
Right,
later, everyone.